Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to PWI, affectionately known as the greatest show on earth. We're going to begin with our minutes today. Agenda item 2025-0989. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, sir. I move to approve 0989.
All right, I'll go ahead and second that. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye, perfect. I also want to acknowledge that we are joined today by Commissioner Terry. Thank you for sitting with us. Next up, we have a discussion topic, Stormwater Master Plan, Snapfinger Basin Study Update, and we have Mr. Lemke along with the good folks from Arcadis to talk about this.
Yeah, I just wanted to, as you may recall, on the June 17th, I think it was, PWI meeting, as we were discussing the stormwater utility or the stormwater master plan, we mentioned about the different phases that are necessary for us to really go forward and drill down into, the mechanics and the individual basins within the master plan. And I commented that perhaps it would be a good idea for a presentation to come to this body so that you can get a better idea of what we're doing. So that is exactly what I'm trying to do today. We have the master plan as the proverbial 10,000-foot level look at the county's stormwater systems. What we're going to talk about today is the next level down is the Snapfinger Basin. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Anwar Ahmed and to Rich Gruhl from Arcadis, who have put together a PowerPoint slide.
And just to make sure, that 1-inch thick stack of paper there is not the PowerPoint slide, correct?
No, well, this is just the first half.
That's the first half. Thank you, Rick. Okay.
No, actually, these are hard copies of it, which I'll be more than happy to
perfect.
distribute. Do you want them now or after?
He'll give them to Marcus, and he'll get them over to us. And thank you. And if it's all right, commissioners, let's let them go the whole presentation, or if we can, and maybe halfway through, and then come back and ask the questions, just so we can move it through the process. Welcome. Good to see you again.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. And if you would please get started.
All right. Again, my name's Rich Gruhl. I'm with Arcadis. Today, we're just doing an update. We're going to talk about the Snapfinger Creek watershed work that we've been doing. We're also going to mention a project that's kind of adjacent to the Royal Town Place retention pond update. And then my colleague Anwar here will finish us out with the watershed master planning, kind of looking more forward. So starting with the master plan, this is currently what we're working on. I know there was a lot of questions as we did the strategic master plan about when we were going to get down into that granular level and actually start looking at specific pipes, and we're here. Mm-hmm. So here's what we're currently working on or efforting. We're doing a critical infrastructure inspection. We're going to then go out and look at, do some surveys of those that we find to be in poor condition, followed by a hydrologic and hydraulic analysis for those that need to be rehabbed. We're going to actually look at, see how they're actually performing from a performance standpoint before we make a decision on what that rehab would look like. And did that just, okay. Once we get that, then we'll update the risk assessment on those assets, and then actually develop a capital improvements plan. And in amongst that, we also looked at about 200 detention ponds in this watershed. So just kind of roll it back just for 1 second, just so we're on the same page here. As you recall, we looked at roughly 77,000 assets on paper during the strategic master plan, and we classified those assets based on risk. And we wound up kind of categorizing them into 5 general areas. Class 1 are pipes that are under roads where it's the only way in and out. So if you remember, like from one of the previous presentations where we had that neighborhood, and mm-hmm. like to get into it, you had to cross a creek where we had 2 corrugated metal pipes. And if that road were to collapse, we can't get in, they can't get out. So those are class 1 assets. Those are the highest, really high risk assets. Class 2 is just the pipes associated with your major roads, so not GDOT roads, but collectors and arterial roads. Class 3 is anything that we haven't picked up prior to that point that conveys the actual creek, so we actually got a creek flowing through it. Then Class 4 is all the pipes that are in the right-of-way on residential streets, and then the last one is Class 5 is all the stuff that's off right-of-way. Within each of those classes, there are subsets, and just based on different aspects. And so when we said, okay, there's about 11,000 assets mapped in the Snapfinger watershed. We're not going to go look at all 11,000 of them because not all of them have the same risk profile. We're just going to look at the ones like, oh my God, Commissioner Patrick's going to call me if this collapses, because it's going to close roads or what have you. And so what we looked at was about 10% of them we classified as very high consequence of failure assets. So that's what we're calling the critical assets. You can see a lot of class 1s, class 2s, and then some of the bigger assets on some of the lower classes. All right, so we took that 11,000, we built down to 1,100 of the ones that are going to be the most impactful if they fail. And then we sent actual guys out with a pole camera, which is just exactly what it sounds like. It's a camera on the end of a pole. But what that allows us to do is stick that pole down in the ground, get actually down into those pipes, which may be 10, 15 feet below ground, with a light and a camera, and we can actually look up that pipe and say, okay, what really condition is that in? This is the first, really start to understand that. And then we started updating the data in the inventory on that. So we're looking at things like, is it accessible? Are there safety hazards? What kind of condition is the pipe in? Is what the inventory thinks is there, is that what's actually there? Is there corrosion? Are there defects? Is it blocked up? We're getting down into that, putting the Mark I eyeball via this camera on these assets and actually kind of figure out like what's good, what's bad. And so we're doing this updating, and it's all digital in the field. There's the guys are out running around looking at this stuff and then updating it in real time. And this is just kind of what it looks like. I mean, this is just an example of a class 2 pipe. So this is a pipe adjacent to one of your collector routes. I can't remember which one off the top of my head, but you can see he went through and his name's Ryan. I keep referring to him. It's actually Ryan. He went through and kind of assessed, where are we at? And this one actually was in pretty decent shape. It's showing some age, but it's not going to fail tomorrow. So that's what we're doing. We're doing pole camera inspections. We've got a new toy that we wanted to play with.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so we decided to roll it out on some of the more impact, some of the larger class 1 type pipes. And of course that didn't go. Can you, in the AV, can you click on that image? That should be a video, if you can. Of course, technology. Do I have a PDF of a video? No, it's live, but I'm sorry. I'll show it to you later. What this is this a video? We have a actual drone, like drone, like you fly around. Mm-hmm. It's surrounded by a cage. We can actually fly it through the pipes and pick up high definition. So it's kind of like CCTV, wow, except for it's going very fast, picking up very high definition, and at the same time, it's firing a laser that's actually creating a digital profile, digital twin, wow, LiDAR profile and thermo. It has thermal camera on it as well, so we can find things like illicit discharge, illicit connections, like somebody's tied like a sewer pipe into our storm drains. We would be able to pick that up because it would show up as a hot signal. So we've been playing with that. We've been very, very happy. This was one of the culverts that we inspected. This pipe is not great, and if it were working, it would show you us flying through there, and you can see the part of the bottom on this culvert is missing. He gets to the other end, then he turns around and then flies through the next culvert, which is right next to it, and comes up, and that one is severely damaged. Oh. The bottom has actually been peeled up. Oh. So this is the kind of stuff that we can't get with a pole camera, but with this technology we can.
You can do it.
So
well, I don't know. Do we know if it's going to work or not?
Okay, I'll show it to you.
Let's
later.
move on and let's see if they can circle back.
All right, so we're doing all this inspection work, and this is just we updated this yesterday based on where we're at Friday. We're a little more than halfway through the initial inspection work, and what you're seeing here is what's been rated good, fair, poor, inoperable, inaccessible, what have you. And I realize this is a lot of numbers, but what I want you to focus on are those two yellow boxes. So remember the classes. So a class 1A pipe, which is the yellow box on the left, is a corrugated metal pipe under a single ingress egress route with a creek flowing through it. So we've looked at about 30 of them so far, 30 assets, of which 4 were found to be inoperable or in very poor condition. So 4 out of 30, that's, what is it? 2 out of 15, 1 out of every 7.5 so far. So it's more than 10%. Same with on Class 3A. Those are, again, residential routes. We're not going to lose if we lose the road, we don't lose access, but it's still going to, kind of potentially block up the creek that's flowing under that road. And you can see there, we've got 35 out of 193. So,
Rich, just to confirm, this data only reflects that small area that you had shown at the initial slide, the mapped area?
yes.
This is not countywide?
This is not countywide, this is just Snapfinger Creek.
Okay.
As we wrap this up, we can probably start extrapolating and making some assumptions and kind of get a handle on what we think the whole thing is. But again, this is about just a little over half of what we're going to look at in Snapfinger Creek.
All right, thank you.
So the intent again is we're going to find those culverts that are in poor shape. And before we make a rehab decision on them, on what we're going to do, because we've got options, like we could go out and put in a liner to extend the life of the culvert, we could replace it. But before we do either one of those options, we want to kind of look at it and say, okay, is this road overtopping, every other year? And if it is, do we need to upsize it? And that's what we're going to do there. And this is just an example of one of the ones we're looking at, that Class 3A, that Cedar Park Drive culvert. We know it's in poor shape, it needs to be rehabbed. But when we pulled the models out and we started looking at it, we noticed Cherry Glen Trail, which is a Class 1A, it's one of those really high-risk ones. When Megan ran the numbers, what she found was that Cherry Glen is, in the model, is being overtopped, potentially fairly frequently, and it's affecting the next culvert up. So this is kind of one of those things where as we start to kind of work on that CIP plan, we're going to start kind of getting with county staff and saying, okay, what do we want to do for a rehab? And building out that CIP list. All right, so that's kind of where we're at. We're currently working through those inspections and that analysis. As I mentioned, we also looked at the detention ponds. There's about 218 detention ponds in the watershed that are owned and or operated and maintained by the county. And so what we've gone through, and we've finished this work on this part now, we went through and analyzed each one of them and said, okay, what's coming to that pond, that little detention pond, and where's it going, and what's downstream, and do we think it's making an impact? So you can see in this example, the pond doesn't catch a lot of area, but when it goes down, it's crossing 2 1A pipes. So that's one of those ponds where we want to be real careful about what we do with that. But when we went through and looked at all 218 of them, what we found was, and this was kind of just a desktop review, we found that of those, about 64 are potentially could be decommissioned. Because either they're not really catching much, or they're just going like into a floodplain. And the example I would give is, imagine building a detention pond to choke back flows from a development that then immediately goes into Lake Lanier or the ocean. It's like, well, what are we doing? We're not going to flood the lake. It's already flooded. So think that idea. So we found, like I said, 64, almost 30% of those ponds we think have potential to be decommissioned. We found another 9 we think might be good candidates if you want to do water quality retrofits. And they say, look, they're not doing a lot from a detention standpoint, but maybe they could be repurposed and provide some water quality benefit. And then finally we found another 9. We're like, this pond goes into this pond. Why don't we just make this pond work better and get rid of this pond? Why maintain 2 when we can get 1 to do the job of both? Mm-hmm. So, caveat, this is not in Snapfinger Creek, but this just kind of shows what I'm about to say. It's the Royal Path ponds. So to give you an idea of where we're talking about, you can see the Maloof building there on the left. Sam Street Complex, that's where we're at. And then Royal Path is like, I don't know which way. It's like half a mile that way, maybe. Wherever it is, it's close. And what it is, it's a townhome community. It's the photo there on the right, and it has actually 2 detention ponds that are maintained by the county in it. We're going to call Pond A the front pond, Pond B the pond that's in the back. we went through and actually did full-blown hydrologic analysis on these, on both ponds, just to see what they're doing. And what we found was neither of them are really providing much detention. In the case of Pond A, it's just not catching a lot of water. And so it's not enough, there's not enough drainage coming to it to actually make an impact, move the needle, if you will. And the Pond B, which is in the back pond, it's actually catching a decent area. It's catching 12 acres, I think, somewhere in that neighborhood. The problem is it's dumping literally right into the creek. And so when Megan modeled it, what she found was, the flow is here, and we just removed the pond out of the model and just let water go straight into the creek. The flow was here. And it's just a timing issue. It's basically not actually making any difference to the creek itself, because one, the creek has got a drainage area that's significantly larger, and between that and the timing, it's just, the flow goes from 100 to 100.2, So it's one of those things where we're doing a lot of maintenance, having to maintain a facility, and we're not really getting anything for it. So what we've recommended on that is to decommission Pond B. And then Pond A, as I mentioned, it's not catching a lot of area, and it doesn't make a big difference on detention, but we think that's one of those opportunities where the drainage area comes to us small enough, we could actually convert that into what we call a bioretention basin and actually provide a water quality. And that's what you're seeing is preliminary drafting on the plans there on the left, where we would take the pond, dig it out a little bit, build in an under drain system, then fill it with filter media, and then water that comes in off the parking lots from the condo development would then come through the pond, go through the filter media, and then it would polish that water and actually send clean water downstream to the creek. So it's an opportunity there. So that's kind of, when I say decommissioning, water quality BMPs, this is a great example of what we're talking about. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Anwar, and he's going to talk about stuff outside of Snapfinger.
Yeah, good afternoon. I don't talk as fast as Rich, so I'm going to be a little bit, bring it down a little bit. But so what the intent here is to kind of show you as a whole, countywide, what we can do using the Snapfinger Creek watershed as a model. So just as a first step, these are all the county the watersheds in the county that are also within the DeKalb County Stormwater Utility Service area. So what you see in that dark hatched are the areas that are not in the service area. And then you see City of Stonecrest on the bottom right, which is still within the service area. So there are about 24 of those watersheds and sub-watersheds. So in terms of prioritizing how to go about studying, doing the phase 2 master planning, after the strategic master plan was done, we kind of went through an exercise where we scored the various watersheds. And the one on the left is the risk score based on conduits themselves. What Rich just talked about with the different classes, and then the risk scores that we came up with. The middle is the locations where the county's comprehensive land use plan shows, or unified plan just shows there would be a significant increase in impervious surface, which in hydrologic sense means there'll be more runoff from that area. Right, and then the last is the FEMA's reparative loss areas for flooding. So we kind of combined those, did some what we call heat maps. The left being from the scores. So what they do is they combine scores of similar ranges and show where the density of those points are. So the yellow is the highest density, and then the red and on down to the blue. And you can see by layering on the increased impervious area and then the reparative loss areas, we were able to get an idea of where those hot spots lie in the county. So by looking at all that together, we came up with sort of a ranking from 1 to 24 of the various watersheds and sub-watersheds. Now, some of those are, they flow into each other, they're tributary. So, for example, for Snapfinger Creek, which we're studying now, and that's in the middle, and I should have probably highlighted that for you, but it also, the main stem of Snapfinger Creek also includes Barbashella Creek and Indian Creek. So we combine those together into one watershed master plan, which Rich just talked about. Okay, so this is kind of circling back to that. So because Public Works said, well, we can't do it all at one time, so let's prioritize these. So what's next then, right? So what we've done here is we've tried to group the watersheds, the 24, and the ones remaining after Snapfinger Creek into these three major groupings. And the groupings are Peachtree Creek North area, which is the blue and the yellow up on top, the South River, eastern tributaries, and the Yellow River is where the Pole Bridge Creek and all that, to the southeast part of the county, and then the remaining is the southwest. And in ballpark numbers, it's going to be about $1 million per stormwater master plan for each of these three groups. And turn it over to Rick.
Yeah, just to wrap up a little bit, we wanted to provide you with a little bit of an idea of, how this process is going forward and, what kind of things that we're looking at. We did stress a little bit the idea of the retention ponds, detention ponds, what we can and can't do with them. And a lot of the reason for that, I'm sure, all of you as commissioners have received complaints on maintenance of retention ponds. That we've got over 1,000 of them in the county that we have to maintain. And if there's a way that we can decommission, if they're not really useful to us, then why are we maintaining them? So as a matter of fact, our idea is that, by studying these and getting a better idea of just exactly how they're functioning and what they're functioning, we could accomplish two things. We could reduce our workload, which is better for the county, or we can convert some of these into a best management practice in bioretention swales or other types of means that are more effective than just a low area that gathers water. So, we tried to tell Arcadis that, we want to concentrate on some of these types of items. Obviously, as we go forward, we can't look at the entire county at one time. We are trying to drill down in an orderly fashion so that we can get you what we really need to do and become proactive instead of reactive as we have been for, some 20, 30 years. If you have a moment and we can get the video to you sometime, it's really kind of cool to fly through a pipe, and at least for an engineer.
Yeah, no doubt. No
So, some of those videos are kind of interesting. It's a little bit different from just running a camera down the bottom of the pipe when you know that the drone is up in the air and watching. It gives me goosebumps as an engineer. So, if we can get that to you, we will try to do that.
I guess a quick comment and a question before I turn it over to my colleagues. Having been in the public sector for several years, I understand what you're saying, that the business sense, these 29 locations or 29% that would be decommissioned because they are not functional. You do have a good plan to communicate to the residents, because there is the perception of it wasn't a problem before, or I was comfortable with what was happening before, and now y'all have changed it.
I think my best answer is not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
I know that, most of these ponds are on private property, but through previous agreements or through plat language, that the county ends up being on the hook to do the maintenance. That complicates the matter a little bit. If it was county property, it'd be a lot simpler
Right.
for us to do something to decommission those ponds. If I go to a subdivision where we are currently maintaining the pond, but the actual property is owned by an HOA, I can't just say, hey, we quit. That's not going to work.
Right.
So yes, we have to develop those kind of plans and those ideas.
Okay, thank you, because they'll yell at me. They might yell at them. But they're going to yell, well, they're going to yell at all
No,
of us.
our idea is to minimize the yelling.
Right, exactly. And then just to reconfirm what I heard Anwar say, so Peachtree Creek, North Fork and South Fork, that's $1 million. South River, eastern tributaries and Yellow River, that's $1 million. And then South River, western and southern tributaries, that's also going to be $1 million for those study areas.
Yeah, as we drill down, and those are ballpark numbers, but as we drill down, of course, in doing the kind of studies that we need to do to get to the point where we can truly be proactive,
Right.
you know.
You got to do this.
Yeah,
Is the
it's
plan
gonna
to do
take some-
these one at a time? Is the plan to do all three of these at once?
Yet to be completely determined. I think in all likelihood, it may end up being one at a time simply for budgetary consideration.
Okay.
But if we can combine some things, heck, I'd love to have the whole thing done all at once.
Sure. And then is there a time frame for getting started on these three?
ASAP.
ASAP. Okay, perfect. Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Terry.
I definitely have questions, and the engineer in me really wants to see that video, so if you can send it to us. So I did have a couple questions. The culvert analysis on Cedar Park Drive, so if I'm looking at that right, Cherry Glen Trail and then Cedar Park Drive is overtopping in every storm year?
Do you have a page number for that one?
It doesn't have a picture.
That one, okay.
Just so everybody can see.
Yes, thank you. Yes, that one.
That one. That's what the modeling is currently showing. And these are actually FEMA-studied floodplains. So, I mean, that's what we got to go off at the moment is, these are, got some decent drainage areas, so it doesn't surprise me. Before we made any firm, go out and start building stuff, I'd want to get some confirmation on that. Hopefully, ideally, for those of you who aren't engineers, we love to do all our modeling, and then we go ask somebody that actually lives there, and just make sure that, what we calculate is lining up with the future. I mean, usually they are pretty close, but every once in a while you'll get surprised, and for whatever reason. I had one that me and the city engineer of this particular community, I mean, we both agreed, could not find an error and could not corroborate that with what people on the ground who'd lived there for 20 years had done. So, again, we would not take off on a $250,000 culvert replacement project without talking to the neighbors and making sure that they can say, okay, yeah, hopefully they've got somebody that's been there more than, 2 years.
Yep.
But does that answer your
Yes,
question?
I just want to make sure, I hadn't looked at one of those graphs in a minute. I want to make sure I was reading that right.
Yes, ma'am.
One of the things that we wanted to emphasize or wanted to demonstrate with this kind of an example is, many times I hear in my office, well, just, make the culvert bigger. You can't do that. If we
not that
do that,
simple.
I don't know that without this kind of analysis, I have no idea if I'm just pushing the problem downstream and causing a problem for someone else, or if we're actually truly solving a real issue. So that's what this kind of analysis does for us.
Exactly. And I think you may have answered some of my questions on this. On the detention ponds review, and there was I think slide 15, a bunch that we are considering maybe decommissioning or turning into water quality. These are ponds that we either own or at least maintain.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then when the example for converting Pond A to detention pond, that's the Royal Town Park Pond. Well, to the bioretention pond, do we have any example of a bioretention within our system? Or will this be one of our first ones if we move forward?
They're saying it'll be the first one.
It would be the first one. Okay. I mean, it's technology that's out there for sure, but it'd be exciting for us to implement that.
GDOT builds these for their road projects on occasion.
Yes. And I think the other question I had was about the funding. Commissioner Patrick touched on what each of these would cost. Have we considered funding options and ways we can fund this?
That's you, Rick.
Yeah, as we approach the need to extend into these other basins, we're certainly going to be looking at what kind of funding opportunities we have. there's a lot of different moving parts that go on with the stormwater utility as far as fee structures, as far as loans that we're using for repairing existing problems and whatnot. They all need to tie together. And we're in the process of doing that. But as far as being able to stand here and tell you that I have a specific source of funding right now, no, I'm not ready to do that.
Okay, thank you. I yield back.
All right. Commissioner Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I thank you for the presentation, Rich and Rick, and team. I definitely do want to see that video. Sounds amazing. Glad we're using technology. I thought, Director Limpy, you were going to say, back in my day, we used to have to climb in the pipes.
No, actually, we shine a flashlight at one end and see if you had a full circle at the other. It was called lamping the line.
Yeah, that was the low tech that worked back then. Well, that's great. And so and in that video, so you show us going through it. Can you show the example of what the 3D laser model looks like?
I'd have to pull my computer out.
Okay, or just like a screenshot or something.
Yeah, I
Be interesting
can
to-
definitely do a screenshot and
Okay.
send it to them. They'll push it out to all you
Okay,
guys.
so this is like cutting edge technology, I imagine.
The LiDAR is pretty new.
Yeah.
Especially on something, because you got to get it down to something so small. I mean, LiDAR used to,
Be in the plane, yeah.
you put it in a plane. Obviously, it's hard to fly a Cessna through a 4-foot diameter pipe, but
That's right, but you can do a drone with a cage around it.
We're getting
Plus it's underground, so you're not using your traditional GPS, satellite technology.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. And then, so when it relates to the decommissioning of the detention ponds, would y'all be able to kind of do that cost estimate of, okay, if we did decommission X number and we weren't maintaining them, how much money would it save us on our maintenance contracts? Is there like a ballpark that y'all could get to?
Yeah, certainly we can provide some kind of a ballpark that would indicate that, because there's certainly going to be a cost for the actual decommissioning, but then, offset by what the maintenance cost would be. So, that kind of thing will come to you when we're ready to do so.
Okay. And to Commissioner Patrick's point about, working with HOAs and neighborhood associations or like a place like Royal Town Park, which is an interesting one because, apparently we own the roads as well. So I guess we're responsible for a lot more than a typical neighborhood. But when it comes to, Pond A, bioretention, I think we have that green infrastructure sort of, set aside. So hopefully that's something y'all could activate to do, this sort of first pilot bioretention pond for Pond A.
Yes, that's the plan.
Okay. And for Pond B, could this be sort of the other pilot of how do we work with a community or neighborhood to say, here are the decommissioning options and kind of work out a template that y'all could go through for other communities that
Yeah,
might be in the
absolutely,
same
because,
situation?
this really, that situation in that neighborhood is really the first one where we've been able to drill down that far so quickly.
Yeah.
So as a result, they're first up on the list anyway. So as we go through that and we do the bioretention in the Pond A, or our plan to do that and plan to decommission, that will establish pretty much our framework for how we can proceed in the future. So yes, those are going to be our stellar examples.
Okay. And so I guess, is there one version of a decommissioning where part of the pond like becomes usable? Like, would you actually take the fence down? Could it turn into a somewhat active or passive green space?
I think, not necessarily speaking out of turn, but I believe that those may be possible, but it's going to be on a case-by-case basis, depending on the size of the pond, the location.
Right.
It's not going to do any good to create a pocket park that no one can get to. For example, if it's in the back of a bunch of homes and there's no easement to get there, that would be perhaps, a different situation than something right next to the roadway. So, there's a number of different options that would end up going into that analysis.
Okay. Yeah, and just because I've been out here, and we went out there a while back, Director Lemke, but I remember the neighbors saying that, and this actually makes sense now that you said it hardly, I guess, fills up, because apparently school kids cut through there throughout both semesters to the school, and they just walk right through the pond. Right. So it kind of indicates that, to your point, it's not really being used in its true capacity. So I guess so this is an opportunity for us to kind of see, here's one potential decommissioning option. But I guess in the study of the decommissioning, would we have like 1, 2, 3 different treatments? Sort of, are there going to be kind of standard prototypes of how you would decommission a pond?
Yeah, just to be clear, because I guess I didn't really say what that means, what decommissioning means. It's not, we're not going to just walk away.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
good luck. No,
Yeah.
we don't do that. So
Yeah.
in the case of these ponds, we would actually breach the dam.
Okay.
So it's so that it would not hold water, because, I'd be concerned about, having a pond out there that's not maintained at all. 20 years down the road, it could breach, get clogged up, then breach, and then we'd have problems. So there is a specific decommissioning plan, and that's where I think some of what you're talking about would come in, about what the actual construction would look like. Pull the fence out, or, maybe do some light grading, try to potentially turn it into something. I mean, that's when the opportunities really start opening up.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay, great, thank you.
That also affords an opportunity for some public information, to be able to get some information out.
Yep.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, I had a follow-up on that. So as we're considering decommissioning these ponds and what that might look like, if there is an option or opportunity for creating pocket parks, then who's maintaining the pocket parks? Is that moving maintenance from one entity to another entity? Just something to consider as we're working through all that and what it might look like.
That's correct. Any opportunity to convert something into a pocket park or some kind of a public space, that's got to be one of the considerations. And that goes into what Commissioner Terry was talking about, is what is the true cost of decommissioning? Is there a savings, or are we just adding other cost on another end?
And I would say, me personally, even if there isn't a overall huge savings to decommission, but if a pond is not serving a purpose for a stormwater management purpose, then I still say it could be worth the decommission, even if it's not overall cost savings. But
Yeah,
it's my
and
two
quite
cents.
frankly, I would tend to agree, because, otherwise the pond will sit there, and our maintenance schedules are such that, we can't get out there and mow it every 3 months or anything like that, and so you end up with essentially an eyesore.
And
So if we can do
mosquitoes.
something that is going to look a lot better, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, thank you.
Two things I want to add to that. One, remember, these are detention ponds, so they tend to be in low-lying areas that flood. So keep that in the back of your head as we talk about parks. And the other thing is, a lot of these are on private property. So you got to think about that in terms of turning it into like a public park. It's still on potential, like in this case, those are all still private property. They're just county maintained because they provide the public benefit, or at least that was the intent when they were designed.
And I think that goes back into what was said earlier, that each one of these would be a case-by-case basis. They're all unique. Some ponds are going to be deeper than others, and there's just so many variables, but it's going to be an interesting exercise to go through.
Yes.
I have a couple more questions.
Sure.
And this one's not going to be a popular one. The work that you guys are doing looks really phenomenal. The surveying and the identifying the cameras for the public infrastructure. If there are private water, stormwater facilities in a townhome community or something like that, or apartment complex, is there an option or an ability for them to contract either directly through the county to have that service, or can they contract directly with with you guys as contractors, whoever's doing the actual work as the vendor?
Absolutely. No,
Thank you.
I'm kidding. What you're talking about is an extended service policy
Okay.
discussion about where is the county going to use public funds, and that's a much larger discussion that will ultimately have to involve you guys.
Okay.
And that's just kind of broad terms. Now I'm
Right.
going to let Rick add the county specific stuff.
Well, I think, there are certain opportunities for public-private participation. And there's a process that we're going through right now, trying to determine some of those policies and how we can best enforce them or best put them to use, because it does get rather complex in some of these different plats.
Right.
And the way they're put together, that it's not just a simple matter of saying, yeah, we're going to do this and you're going to do that. So there are a lot of different opportunities for some kind of a cooperative effort to address these issues.
Okay. And just to say it, I know there's at least 2 properties in unincorporated District 1 that you're familiar with, where there have been concerns, and it's private property. And so if there's some way to get these resources, at least the very benefit of the knowledge and information you guys are putting together, I think that would be helpful for those
Right.
communities. But, all right, thank you for that one. Commissioner Terry asked my question about calculation of maintenance savings, which is, I think, an important component to have. I think we sort of talked about this briefly, but issues with decommissioning, as in, we assumed everything was going to be fine, and then have you all had experience where the assumptions were not right and it ended up being a problem? And if so, what's the fix?
I appreciate that. I mean, a lot of that is, it's a risk. I mean, you could always put it back. You know, that's where the risk kind of, you got to weigh that risk, like what's downstream, and that's kind of what we were talking about when we were looking at which ones are potential decommissioning.
Yep.
One of the things we're looking at is what's downstream. You know, is if there's a home sitting right next to the creek downstream, I promise you, it did not end up on that 30% list.
Right.
Whereas, and so that's what we're, you know, looking at again. We're just identifying ones we think are candidates, but there's no way, I don't think we would look at decommissioning one without getting into that detailed analysis like what we did with these guys.
Okay.
About
Perfect.
what's immediately downstream.
And then final question, this is probably something that would affect more Chamblee, Dorville, Brookhaven, and Tucker within my district. Is there any efforts for collaboration between the municipalities where county and city touch? So I'm assuming, well, the basins do not follow political boundaries.
Right.
Is there a conversation, have you guys started that, on a long-term fix?
At this point, we have not with the snap finger basin because it's not touching, you know, those types of things. But
Okay.
as we move forward with the other basins, you know, certainly that's going to be a requirement because we're going to have to coordinate with, you know, as you say, the drainage basin boundaries do not coincide with political boundaries.
Right.
And, you know, as an engineer, I'm more interested in the boundaries of the watershed, not the political boundary.
Right.
So, you know, we have to look at that and consider what's going, you know, between the two agencies,
Okay.
or three.
And I'm not sure if this is something as PWI director or something for the CEO's office to handle, but can there at least be a conversation with the municipalities suggesting, hey, y'all probably need to start working on a stormwater master plan so that at that point when we are ready to work with you and
Oh,
cross
absolutely.
boundaries?
I mean, and quite frankly, I'd have to rely on a lot of those contacts to initiate a lot of those discussions.
Perfect, okay. Thank you very much. Again, Rich and Anwar, appreciate you guys coming down here. This was a great report. I'm glad that it wasn't the inch thick of paper that it looked like it was to begin with. Commissioners, unless there's any other questions, we will thank these gentlemen for being here and then move on with the rest of our agenda.
Thank you.
Yep, all right. And then Commissioner Johnson, it is 4:37. I know we can go through an agenda, but it might be after 5 o'clock. Is that problematic, or are you a hard stop at 5, or you're good? Okay, we got some flexibility. All right. So let's move on to the, what was that?
I just need to vote.
Okay,
So as long as we're
we'll
out
get you
before
there.
that.
We'll get you there. All right, new agenda items, Public Works, Roads and Drainage. We have agenda item 2025-0859. This is for all commission districts. Change order number 1 to contract number 1284299, Shot Creek and Restorative Services for Stormwater Projects, 3-year multi-year contract for use by Public Works, Roads and Drainage. This contract consists of furnishing all labor, materials, and equipment necessary to provide Shot Creek and restorative services to construct concrete walls, pipes, etc., on an as-needed basis. This request seeks to increase contract term and funds through February 28, 2027, awarded to Pro Shot Concrete Incorporated, amount not to exceed $1,500,000. Mr. Lemke.
Yeah, we utilize Shot Creek products for a number of things, as it indicates here, for, you know, reconstructing concrete walls. Sometimes you can just coat them with the concrete rather than having to rebuild them. And then, of course, on the inside of the pipe, you can line the inside of the pipe with a shotcrete material, which saves you from having to dig it up. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do. This is a change order, as he indicated, that would extend the contract through 27 and reestablishes the cap to that contract at $1.5 million. And we fully expect that we're going to end up doing a lot more of this type of work as the year goes on. So, you know, we respectfully ask your approval.
Right. Just to ask a basic question, Shot Creek is a brand, or is it a particular type of concrete?
It is the name for a concrete methodology, essentially.
Okay.
It's, if you can imagine, in very layman terms, shooting concrete out of a gun and letting it splatter, that's essentially what shotcrete is.
Okay. I'm sensing a road trip, just saying that. Commissioner Johnson, any questions, concerns?
We have so many technical definitions as engineers to shoot the concrete. That is technically what it is.
I've been in this business too long to be able to, unfortunately, I get a little bit cavalier with my comments sometimes.
No, that's exactly what it is, though. So just to make sure I understand, the original contract was to end August 31st, 2025. We're extending it to February 28th, 2027, and then this additional amount is just to cover that extension.
Correct.
Oh, good.
Okay. Commissioner Terry, you're good. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, sir. I move to approve 2025-0859.
Second, all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all right, we got that one taken care of. Moving on to Public Works Sanitation, we have agenda item 2025-0844, all commission districts, change order number 5 to contract number 1326920, equipment rentals and related products and services, Omnia Contract Partners, contract number 2019-00319, for use by the Department of Public Works Sanitation. This contract consists of purchasing from the competitively let Omnia Partners contract to lease 4 11-yard rear loader trucks for 26 weeks, 4 25 rear loader trucks, and 8 25 rear loader trucks for 52 weeks each. This request seeks to increase the contract's term to October 31st, 2026, as well as to purchase 8 25-yard garbage trucks for continued weekly residential collection services within the county, awarded to Big Truck Rental LLC, amount not to exceed $1,804,000. Director
That was
Hutchins.
a lot to read, Commissioner.
First of all, I got to start with an apology. You were very kind to come to the Dunwoody stormwater and sanitation discussion, and stormwater took up all the time, and I apologize for not making the best use of your time, but thank you for being here. As always, you're much appreciated.
Thank you, Commissioner. So that was the original contract, just for clarification, that was the original contract, because we were renting trucks. And then on that contract, we did purchase some trucks off that contract. And so when Commissioner Patrick was reading it off, that was the original rental contract. Because we did rent trucks, and then we ended up purchasing some trucks. Today I am here because we need to purchase 8 additional trucks off that contract. And so what we have done is we went back to the vendor, and we asked them to give us prices for 8 25 cubic yard rear loader trucks. And the reason why we're going to purchase these trucks is because we're in need of additional trucks. We currently have about 20 trash trucks that are called pool units, whereas the units have already been replaced. Fleets already replaced the unit. Once fleet replaces the unit, the user department pays for all the repairs. These pool units are at their life. They're gone. So we need good operational trucks where we could get rid of paying the repairs on these, what I call scrap metal trucks, send them to the surplus so fleet can sell them. We could purchase these units that are readily available through this contract at a discounted price. The trucks are readily available. And so a new garbage truck would cost us $478,000 today. And then if you had to put an order in, you wouldn't get the trucks till a year and a half later. So these trucks are readily available, and we're gonna be able to get 8 of these trucks, and the prices are attached, and the 8 trucks would actually cost us $1.8 million. Now, if I had to take the same 8 trucks and multiply it by $478,000, and then wait a year and a half later, it just impacts my cost as far as like trying to keep these pool units running it's just driving everything up. And so I am looking to, like I said, purchase these trucks as additional trucks for sanitation to help us with our routes.
All right, Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, but it's not additional trucks, it's replacement trucks.
Replacement trucks.
And then you said that the trucks would be readily available, what is it, 30
Right.
days?
Right, so the trucks are actually, the vendor is actually holding them for us.
Okay.
So whenever we issue that PO number and we're ready to go in sanitation, we could get the funding and stuff, we're gonna go back. We already spoke with our budget folks, and we're gonna be looking at these numbers, crunching these numbers as best as we can, and come up with the $1.8 million. We have the majority of it. And so we're just gonna be making sure that we got issued, as soon as we get the approval, 2 weeks from now, when it goes to board meeting, as soon as it goes through, hey, here's your PO number, let's start pushing our trucks to Atlanta, Georgia.
Awesome. And I appreciate you, Director, for always trying to find ways to get more out of your buck every time. You're always coming like, I got a savings here, I got a savings there, so I
Yes, ma'am.
appreciate that.
Yes.
Commissioner Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the, any of like, I guess, the surplus trucks that we can't use, like if we have two extra one-arm bandit ones that don't work on some of the routes, are we able to sell those?
Yes, so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Director Goring puts them in the surplus cell.
Oh, okay.
So
And do you get that?
the money goes back into the pot.
Into the vehicle replacement fund?
Yes,
Okay.
the money goes back into the pot.
That'll be used on sanitation trucks?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. And the money goes back into the pot. So we used to get a lot of money for our trucks. The CNG trucks are, I wouldn't say problematic, but not a lot of people run them.
Okay. You mean the ones with the arms?
Just CNG general.
Oh, CNG in general, okay.
So most of the people that come to the surplus sales to buy our trucks are the people just starting garbage businesses.
Okay.
They prefer the diesel trucks more than the CNG trucks,
Okay.
because the CNG truck stations are not readily available around.
Mm.
And if you buy them in rural counties and take them to rural counties, there's no CNG stations available.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but we do sell them, Commissioner, for sure.
Okay, okay.
Mhm.
I'd be curious how much we got the last sale.
The CNG trucks run probably less than $10,000.
Okay, because they're old and surplus.
They're
Okay.
older and they're CNG.
Okay.
Diesel, you may could get double that amount.
Okay, just because they'll more likely use them. Okay.
Right.
And then when it, and so this is for residential collection.
Yes, sir. These are not
Okay.
for commercial. These are for
Okay.
residential.
Gotcha. And how are we doing on commercial?
Commercial, we're
loaders?
fine. So commercial, we're fine. We are working with the vendor. We're looking at some new specifications, but Fleet has done a pretty good job as far as like working with us. We just got 17 new commercial front-end trucks in. So commercial, we're actually doing pretty good. We have enough for commercial to actually have some spares, which
Okay.
is what you always want. You always want some spares on the yard. If a truck goes down, you should be able that driver should be able to jump out his truck, go to the spare, get back on the route and finish it up.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, well, that's great to hear, because I know something was mentioned at the last meeting that y'all were looking into the existing ordinance that governs commercial sanitation under our solid waste management permit, I guess, and it seems like some, whether they're in cities or private entities in the county, maybe using a private hauler, but they really should be using our
Us.
services.
They should be
So-
using us. So Commissioner Patrick has started a resolution to have parameters in place for all new commercial businesses to have a minimum service based on the number of residents in that complex.
Okay,
But all
Right.
the if you're within DeKalb County, you have the solid waste agreement, you should be using DeKalb sanitation. And that's what we're working on. It was a paper that we were basically working, I don't know, we still in discussion with it, but we started on it. And we need to probably just go back and pick back up on that, because we had got a good amount of work done under that proposal that you had. Myself, Brandon White, Cedric Hudson, former Director of Planning, we had got a lot of work done under that proposal that you had want us to put together.
Yep, yep.
yeah, and I fully support that. I guess they're kind of related. It seems like they're different, but they are related. So that one was more for like apartment units that probably have
was.
too many units and they only have one dumpster or
Correct.
twice, and so it gets overflowed. And,
Correct.
And then they got to do extra work. But I'm just talking about more just like, I mean, if we had the capacity, if we did an audit or did a review of all the business licenses in the county and we found, 100 more dumpsters are private and they really need to be doing our service, do we have the capacity to pick up those new accounts, basically?
So I would say yes and no. Yes, we have the amount of workers and trucks. It would be the number of containers I would need.
Okay.
Because you need the containers to replace it. So currently, right now, my inventory is probably not as large to get all of those done. But currently, I could tell you is that we are doing an audit of actual riding around, doing the audit.
Okay.
So we are reviewing those right now.
Okay.
And we get code involved. If you have someone else, we'll get code involved.
Gotcha.
So we are pushing that through it. It's a lengthy process because
Yeah.
there's over 7,000 customers, and when you got shopping centers, you have to determine if suite A, suite B, who's using what, if there's another container out there.
Gotcha, okay, so once you do the audit, you'll kind of have a sense of how many other, in essence, we'll just call it a new account, I guess.
That's correct.
And then, and I guess, so the idea there is you would have a projection of how much revenue would be collected with these new accounts, and then how many dumpsters you need, number one, and then after that, maybe additional, I guess,
Yes.
driving
Our
shifts.
whole focus for the audit was financially.
Okay,
That was our whole focus, financially. Why? I mean, like, when we did our 20% rate increases a couple of years ago, the revenue seemed like it stayed flat. I'm like, something's going on here. Like, this can't be flat like this. Not if we did 20% increase in our prices. So we just came together and we put it in and we just started doing the audit. So we do route by route. It's a very lengthy process, but you gotta run every route. And you gotta go out there to see, is the Popeyes still a Popeyes? And what size container do they have? And what are they being billed? And what is their frequency? So it's a very tedious process.
got it, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
I had one more question. For the 8 trucks, are they CNG or are they diesel?
These are going to be diesel.
Diesel, okay, thank you.
Because when we buy them from the vendors, we upfit everything CNG.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
The
So buy it
cab,
diesel.
sanitation.
Gotcha.
Anything that fleet orders for us is always CNG. Because, and that's an upfit charge. Because when it goes on the line to be manufactured, they know DeKalb sanitation is CNG. So it's a different engine, it's a different upfit, the tanks, everything is placed separately.
Got it,
It's like a upfit, a upcharge.
understood. Thank you.
Okay. Tracy, just for clarification, so this item is only for the purchase of the 8 25-yard rear loaders? Or
That's
is
it.
it everything altogether? Do we need to have a substitute that just more accurately reflects what the request is for Tuesday?
I'm looking at Michelle. You need to probably come down here. I'm sorry, Director
We're
Butler.
good? Okay.
Commissioner, this is listing the actual request, which is to lease and purchase. It's all happening under the same contract.
Okay, so then it is the 411 yards?
Yes.
Okay, that's.
So
what
we're
I'm
still leasing the 4 11-yard.
asking. Okay.
This is what y'all get? Okay.
So, yes, so, I'm sorry, Director Butler and I was talking. I would probably say, yeah, I could clean this up. I'm not leasing anything right now.
Right now, okay. So if we can get a motion to approve a substitute?
Yes, I move to approve forthcoming substitute for 0844.
I'll second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all right. Moving on, again, Tracy, we need you some more. Public Works, Sanitation and Beautification, Agenda Item 2025-0914. This is for all commission districts. Low bid invitation number 2025-100064, Herbicide and Growth Regulator Service. Annual contract with 3 options to renew for use by the Department of Public Works, Sanitation and Beautification. Consists of providing 4 rounds of herbicide and growth regulator applications on 73 county streets and rights-of-way locations every 6 weeks. These services include treatment of weeds, sidewalks, where applicable, roadside trees, and hardscapes. Recommend award to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, American Eagle LLC, amount not to exceed $126,796.80.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Patrick, again. So this contract is for our in-house crews. I don't have any certified, because in order to spray this, the herbicide, you must be a certified, you must go through the training and get the certificate. I'm looking at partnering with UGA, the Extension Services, and seeing if I could get those certificates for my folks.
Nice.
Because I think that'd save me some money if I were to buy the chemicals myself, because I actually have the equipment in the tanks. I could do it myself, I have the sprayers. But we've been so inundated. Every time mowing season kicks in, we're like,
Right.
busy. So, but that is on my goal. That is one of my goals, is to get a couple people, certified, partner with UGA and Extension Services to get them certified. So I had a low bidder at one point. I had another vendor, Absolute Quality Services. I had to get them out because of their quality of work. It just wasn't doing exactly what I needed. I was getting more weeds than what they were spraying. I don't know what these folks were spraying, but anyway, I had to get them out of there. So we went with American Eagle. They do a good job. They work with us on other projects that we have. And we made sure that at one meeting I was in, and Commissioner Terry asked me quite a bit of questions about the chemicals that was being utilized. So these are chemicals that are not harming the storm drains and stuff like that. The main thing is to make sure that we got a post-emergent, pre-emergent, post-emergent, and this is for our in-house crews. The folks that do the right-of-way mowing, the contractors, they're responsible for their stuff. This is for the in-house roads. Our crews, we do 73 roads, we need for somebody to come behind us. And so with that being said, this one contract, this vendor would be under American Eagle, but because we monitor our contract so closely, we'll work directly with this vendor like we do with our other vendor. Like we do with our other contracts. So it'll be managed well, but it's 4 rounds of herbicide applications. And the roads are actually listed as a part of the agenda item.
Any questions, commissioners? No? We'll open the floor for a motion.
Yes, I move to approve item 0914.
Second, all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on. Thank you, Tracy, appreciate you. Watershed Management, agenda item 2025-0860. This is for all commission districts. Change order number 2 to contract number 1172083, meter testing equipment, hardware, software maintenance, and support sole source for use by the Department of Watershed Management. This contract consists of software maintenance of Mars metering testing equipment. This request seeks to increase the contract funds and contract term through July 31st, 2030. This request seeks to ratify purchase order number 5029915 awarded to Investors LLC, doing business as Mars Company, amount not to exceed $490,000.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm Georgina Lockett, Deputy Director of Operations. I'm filling in for Director Wells in his absence today.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, well, tell us about this.
Okay, so this change order is for extension of time and also adding funds to our sole source meter testing software. And so we use this software for to test our meters, for calibrations of our meters, and also collecting data for our meters. So the $490,000, and also it's a ratification for a PO that we had to pay back in April of 2025. And that's it. So we're asking for your approval to proceed with this sole source.
Okay, all right, Georgina, thank you. Commissioners, any questions? You're good? Okay. If you're good, we need a motion.
Yes, I move to approve item 0860.
Second, all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on. We've got 2025-0866. This is for all commission districts. Change order number 3 to contract number 1259927, water valve and fire hydrant locate and assessment. City of East Point contract number 2016-1585, DeKalb Cooperative Agreement. For use by the Departments of Watershed Management, this contract consists primarily of performing water valve and fire hydrant locates and assessments. This request seeks to ratify a previously provided contract term increase. This request seeks to increase the scope of work and contract funds and term through December 31st, 2026, awarded to Xylem Dewatering Solutions Incorporated, doing business as Walks Water Service, amount not to exceed $1,671,500. Georgina, what you got?
Yes, so, again, this also is a change order for our, water valve and, fire hydrant contract that we have right now. That contract is designed for our valve exercising program. Also, we do opening and closing valves, we, raise valve covers, and also with that, we need some additional traffic control with them out, in the streets. So, we're still using this contract, and also we need more time to develop our own contract. So therefore, we're asking for the extension of the term through December 31st, 2026. So we're asking for your approval to proceed with this change order.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, just quick question. So we're requesting this extension, but ultimately the plan would be to kind of put this back out to bid and maybe get a new contract before this contract extension expires? Is that the understanding I just heard?
Yes, so right now, this contract is a co-op, so we need more time.
I got you.
Yes.
Because
to
we're
develop.
under City of East Point's contract
Correct.
on this one.
Yes. So we need more time to develop our scope.
Understood, thank you.
Okay. Unless there's any other questions, open the floor for a motion.
Yes, sir, I move to approve 0866.
I'll second that. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on. The next item is Agenda Item 2025-1039. This is for all commission districts. Approve award of a contract with the Urban League of Greater Atlanta for the establishment and operation of the DeKalb County Office of Water and Sewer Customer Service Advocacy. Mr. Williams.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And so Marcus is handing out to you right now what is the proposal, a PowerPoint that would be presented. We were going to present today, but I think saving this to the FAB meeting, because this will be discussed at the FAB meeting this Thursday, would be most appropriate. But I would like to just highlight the effort, the yeoman's effort of Miss Nancy Flake Johnson, who could not attend today. She's at their national conference. But Gwendolyn Marshall, who's in the back, their Senior Director of Organizational Development, if you'd wave, Gwendolyn, and Deborah McClary, their Chief Administrative Officer. So over the past number of weeks, they have stepped up, and really have done an excellent job in helping us to formulate what will be a contract to not only operate the customer advocate role that was called for in the resolution adopted by the board, but will also administer the rate reduction process and dispute resolution. So we are definitely just very proud to be able to work with the Urban League. We're proud of the work they've done thus far. And so what you have before you is a proposal for the scope of work, essentially the contract that we would be entering into. And we'll present that at FAB on Thursday and hope to get a vote next Tuesday, because our goal is to implement the rate reduction component beginning August 1st.
Okay. Commissioners, if it's all right, just accept this for now and then be prepared for Commissioner Terry's special called FAB to go into questions on that one. Simply because we're after 5 o'clock and I want to be respectful of time for everyone here. So thank you much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Terry, this will be yours in a couple days. Moving on, under GIS, we have Agenda Item 2025-1015. This is for Commission Districts 1 and Super 6, a resolution to declare county real property as surplus and authorize sale of county-owned property at 2117 Savoy Drive to Georgia Department of Transportation for public transit improvements. And, hey, sir.
Hello, how are you?
Who are you?
Christopher Bell.
The Christopher Bell, okay.
That's what they call me.
Yeah, it's a good name to go by, Chris. It's been a while since we talked, so I apologize for not recognizing you right away. That said, Chris, what can you tell us about this item?
Yes, we are in receipt of an offer for GDOT to acquire the property located at 2117 Savoy Drive. It is roughly 2.5 acres in size, undeveloped. The county, the property was conveyed to the county through a tax deed back in 1995. Some brief history back in 2016. The site was thoroughly examined for or evaluated for a potential tax commissioner's tag office, but a lot was revealed there as far as the challenges that existed from the environmental being mostly in floodplain, which is basically how it ended up on the tax rolls and in the hands of the county. So it also historically has had some dumping as well, so illegal dumping and issues where we've had to address with the city of Chamblee, code enforcement, and our staff on our end as well. So it is a great benefit to be able to, relieve ourselves of the maintenance responsibilities, liabilities, and risks associated with this delinquent tax property, and put it into good use by transferring it over to the GDOT.
Okay. Chris, has GDOT said or given any details as to what this land is going to be used for? Is this where they're going to put one of the pylons for beach pass lanes? Is this construction area? What have they given any indication?
Not fully. It may serve as sort of a kind of a maintenance yard in a way, just to support a lot of the activity that's going on there. I'm not sure of the complete design as it relates to Savoy Drive. If it, I don't know if the lane is basically going to move that way.
Understood. Okay.
But initially, they requested an easement. So they requested some easements, and then we had further discussion about fee simple acquisition of the property as opposed to a temporary use.
Okay, all right. And then final question, is City of Chamblee aware of this transaction, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, I don't know.
Don't know. Okay,
Yep.
good enough. That works. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Terry. Let's do Commissioner Johnson first, and then we'll get to you, Ted.
He thinks he's on every committee, doesn't he?
Yes, he did. That's an observation.
Sorry about that. Question, so is this a transfer or are we selling? And if we're-
It is a bona fide sale.
And the amount is the 1.1?
Yes, and that's what DeKalb County will receive.
Okay. Because it looks undevelopable, otherwise it would have been developed by now, so. That's it, that's my
There
question.
was, okay. There was some type of structure out there, and I think that, as Chris has said, there's been a lot of dumping that's happened there.
Yeah.
It looks like, it's almost like a two-story thing. So there's something at grade, and then there's like a basement segment to it, and it looks like people have lived there or been there, so. Commissioner Terry.
Yes, and I think you were here, Commissioner Patrick, but Commissioner Johnson wasn't here. I think it was a year and a half ago, there was it wasn't really the GDOT, it was a company that was looking for an easement, and it was sort of in a kind of a random area of the county, and we sold the easement, and the commission decided that because that area was sort of a wooded, kind of forested area, we appropriated the proceeds of that sale, or that easement sale, into a District 3, District 6 tree bank land acquisition fund. So that was kind of our rationale of trees are being cut down for an easement. Let's try to plant trees or buy land somewhere else in the district that would kind of follow a no net loss of trees policy. And so, commissioners, I'm just wondering if, I guess number one, Zach, did y'all have plans for this $1.1 million? Because I assume it just goes to the general fund.
Right, but there's plenty of capital needs that we can.
Really? Are you sure?
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
I don't know about that one.
Hey,
So-
stormwater.
So this is, and I always try to like, when we charge fees or we sell things for something, I always, in my mind, think there has to be some commiserate, balancing to that. And so, I guess this was a blighted property. Maybe it could have been redeveloped, maybe it could have been a park, I don't know. So I would just ask that, and I guess it's fine to move forward with maybe approving this out of committee, but I would just ask that we consider some agreed upon use of those funds. Can it help blight remediation in District 1, District 6? Can it support some park improvements in District 1, District 6? I'm saying that because, I feel like when we look at the district, every area will have something like this in the future. So if our policy is that we want to try to keep the investment in the districts where the sale is happening, then it just sort of it's fair to support what's being taken away that would invest in those districts. So I don't have any concrete ideas, that's pun intended, but maybe
Any
there's
shotcrete
something.
ideas?
Yeah,
No
any shotcrete ideas? Yeah, probably some shotcrete. So I don't know, what do y'all think about that?
I like the idea, we were kind of spitballing, kind of off here, maybe stormwater or cleaning up tires. If this has been a blighted property previously, we could probably take those proceeds and use them to clean up tires in that District 1, District 6.
District 1 needs help. Just saying.
That'd be great.
Zach, you're gonna tell us no.
No, not at all, but I would just ask us to, or allow the administration to look broadly, and whenever possible, we like to look, and then whether it's tire cleanup or anything like that, not simply by district, just
Right.
looking countywide, because
Right.
it's an issue countywide. This property, just, a little by way of background, we worked for years thinking we were going to build a tax commissioner's office on that, but it was not buildable.
Right.
So,
Right.
it's been there, so this works. I don't know when we say it's blighted because it's not developed, but it hasn't been an eyesore specifically, if you know that area of Savoy Drive. And,
Yep. I
doesn't
think
look great.
Chamblee has plans for,
And they've talked about a trailhead in that area.
okay.
Yeah.
I was more familiar with redevelopment opportunities where they were wanting big skyscraper type stuff. but
Along Savoy Drive.
That has
but
not happened.
Couldn't
so-
couldn't build that there.
Yeah.
And I think that would conflict with what GDOT is looking to do.
Right. How about this? Marcus, can you put this agenda item as a follow-up for, let's say, last meeting in October? And then is that enough time for the administration to come back with some ideas on how to put those funds to work?
Yeah, we'll have ideas at closing. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll open the floor for a motion.
So motion to approve and then come back later, is that what you were saying?
That's what I was
Okay.
saying.
Yes, so at this time, I move to approve item 1015.
Yes,
There was a second.
I'm a second. No comments? Okay, good enough. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on. All right. We're going to get into the next item. These are previously heard items. Agenda item 2024-1139. This is for Commission Districts 1, 2, and Super 6, a resolution supporting bus rapid transit on Beaufort Highway in DeKalb County. Commissioner, I'd like to ask for, I'll say, a 60-day deferral on this one. There are many moving parts in the background associated with this, and I want to be able to bring some information, hopefully, to the PWI board that may help explain some of the issues associated with this.
Yes, sir. So I move to defer item 1139 for 60 days.
I'll go ahead and second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're moving on. Next, now these few items that are here are items that we've previously heard or discussed, but we finally have the approval or blessing from Mr. Lavoie Campbell with the Audit Department. And so we're going to go through these, I hope relatively quickly, but I know we have Georgina here to help us out if we've got any questions. So we're going to start with Agenda Item 2025-0911. This is for Districts 5 and Super 7. Georgia Department of Transportation Contract Item Agreement, Water and Sewer Facilities Project PI number 0002868, adjustments, additions, installations of utility facilities as reconstruct of a divergent diamond interchange, Panola Road at I-20 from Farrington Road to Snapfinger Woods Drive in DeKalb County, estimated $4,220,926.66. Georgina.
Okay. So Georgina again, Deputy Director of Operations. So it is my understanding that this is a reimbursement agreement with GDOT for DeKalb County for us to agree to reimburse for the roadways. So from my understanding that our assets will have to be moved in conjunction with GDOT's new improvements to the divergent diamond interchange at Panola. And I think it starts at I-20 and goes all the way to Snapfinger Woods Drive. So we're asking for approval to agree to the reimbursement for the GDOT projects.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions, comments, concerns? Nope. I'll open the floor for a motion.
Yes, I move to approve item 0911.
I'll go ahead and second. All those in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
All right, perfect. Moving on. Again, yeah, I believe all of these were out of audit. Thank you, Marcus. Moving on to agenda item 2025-0453. This is for all commission districts. Change order number 4 to contract number 1201898, consent decree, gravity sewer rehabilitation and replacement, CDGSRR, multi-year contract with an option to renew for use by the Department of Watershed Management. This contract consists primarily of providing gravity sewer rehabilitation and replacement via cured and pipe place, internal and external point repairs, as well as open cut and pipe bursting. This request seeks to increase scope of work and contract funds awarded to Chemi Construction Company Incorporated, amount not to exceed $8,234,753.13. Deputy Director.
Okay, so yes, this is a change order for our sewer rehabilitation replacement project. With this sewer rehabilitation project, we replace small diameter gravity sewer replacements, existing pipelines that are, outdated. So this project will help us work on utilizing and completing any type of failing cross creeks that we have also, and our Roman Court one, which is a consent decree
Yes.
project. So I think the Roman Court project has about 4,000 linear feet that we need to replace.
Okay, that's pretty significant.
Yes.
Commissioners, any questions, concerns? If not, open the floor for a motion.
I move to approve item 0453.
Go ahead and second. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all right. Next item, 2025-0457. This is for all commission districts. Change order number 2 to contract number 1271092, construction management services, multi-year contract for use by the Department of Watershed Management. This contract consists of providing on-call construction management services. This request seeks to increase the contract scope of work and funds awarded to CGA Solutions, joint venture of Corporate Environmental Risk Management, LLC, CERM, Gresham Smith, Atkins North America Incorporated, amount not to exceed $9,420,796.97. Director.
Yes, so again, we're asking to increase funding. This is a change order for CGA Solutions. Actually, they continue to provide field services for us, call support with our water and sewer projects without interruption. So we would like to add for increasement with that, and we're asking for your approval. And this did come out of audit.
Okay. Commissioners? Commissioner Terry, or Commissioner Johnson, any questions? No. Commissioner Terry?
Okay, yeah, just real quick, because I think Zach and Director Butler, y'all were trying to, I think this was the same contract, but as it relates to the Pole Bridge Master Plan, this is not, I don't think this is directly related to it, but is this the same, or is it a different contract?
I'm not sure if it's the same contract, certainly the same, it's a different contract.
It's different, okay.
Right, but we are working to do an amendment on that other contract to accomplish what we want at Pole Bridge.
Okay, great, thank you.
If there's no other questions, I'll open the floor for a motion.
I move to approve item 0457.
All right, I'll second that. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on. Agenda item 2025-0606. This is for all commission districts. Change order number 1 to contract numbers 1297329 and 1297338. On-call mechanical, electrical, instrumentation, and controls maintenance services for Scott Candler, Pole Bridge, and Snapfinger wastewater treatment plants. 3-year multi-year contract for the use by the Department of Watershed Management. This contract consists of providing on-call labor, equipment, materials, and supervision for mechanical and instrumentation and control maintenance at the county's water treatment facility, wastewater treatment facilities, pump stations, and storage tanks. This request seeks to increase the contract term through December 31st, 2026. This request also seeks to increase the contract funds for contract number 1297338 only, awarded to River to Tap R2T and Tesco Controls Incorporated, amount not to exceed $5 million. Deputy Director?
Right, so this contract covers our on-call mechanical contracts for our pumping stations, our lift stations, the water and wastewater treatment plants facilities. So we're asking for $5 million. We have several projects that will cover that. Our caustic to lime project that we're utilizing, our repairs or replacement of 4 clarifiers at the Pole Bridge facility, and also our lift station pump conversions at the Roll Haven and the Pole Bridge facilities.
All right. Commissioner Johnson, any questions? Commissioner Terry, any questions? No. All right. I'll open the floor for a motion.
Yes, sir. I move to approve item 0606.
I'll go ahead and second. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you, Deputy Director.
Okay.
Appreciate your time. Next item we have is Board of Commissioners, Super District 6, Agenda Item 2025-0739. This is for all commission districts. A resolution to amend the enabling legislation of the Watershed Customer Service and Billing Advisory Group. Commissioner Terry, did you want to add anything to this, or?
Yes, we have a red line.
We got a
that we
red
can
line.
Go over,
Okay.
I think, pretty quickly. I think was it Mr. Phillips or Welch was working on this one? But yes, so we have the updated one and then the red line that shows the changes. Attorney Welch, do you want to walk us through that?
Sure, yes,
Okay.
sir. They're fairly simple changes. So what you should have is 2 copies in front of you. One says updated 714, that's your clean version. The other is your red line. What we've tried to do is clarify that this citizen advisory group would be giving systemic advice on how the process works,
Yes.
rather than being involved advocating for individuals who are going through
Right.
the
Yeah.
water billing dispute or whatever that process is going to end up being called in the new version. But so the changes are, again, endeavored to clarify that this would be a review of the system and the processes. So you'll see very few words were changed, but we just tried to make uniform that it would be, this group would review county practices, policies, procedures, and then you'll see in 2D on the first page, we did add a reference to county contractors and/or staff, as we do understand that, based on a previously discussed item, right, I think a lot of this role is going to be filled by an outside vendor for the county. But that's really the thrust of the changes. The item remains largely in your original form, Commissioner.
Great, thank you, Attorney Welch. Could I ask just a kind of a technical question? So, and maybe Zach, you could help with this. So earlier, when we did the resolution on the Office of Water and Sewer Customer Advocacy, I think the way we sort of framed it as an office, but because we are now going towards the vendor contractor a rate relationship, would it to be technically appropriate to just simply say the water and sewer customer advocate as opposed to the office, since we haven't really established an office? It's a technical change, so I just, do you have any thoughts on that?
Probably. I mean, it avoids any confusion. I'm envisioning this function much like the SPLOST function. Although it's contracted out, it's kind of part of us. But, yeah, if we eliminate the word office, I think that, eliminates potential confusion.
Okay, so I'd like that to be considered by the committee as an amendment for a substitute. And then I think we did check in on the ability to have these meetings virtual, and I believe we have to have these meetings in person now. So I think we'll add that to our legislative agenda. For some of our county board meetings, we should give them a virtual option.
Yep.
But I guess they've been meeting here on the third Thursdays of each month. Fourth Thursday in this room at noon. So in theory, any changes we would make here, that schedule wouldn't necessarily change. It's just really recognizing that when Urban League is officially brought on, they would begin interfacing with this board probably at the next meeting when they're fully established. But if we pass this today and we approve it next week, I think that'd be plenty of time for Urban League to get up and running, and then whether it's an August meeting or a September meeting, could be maybe the first opportunity for the Urban League to come and speak to the Billing Advisory Board, meet them, introduce them, and then hopefully that kind of becomes a natural flow every month. There's, and Zach, I think that we talked about this, but ideally like the sort of the monthly updates from the Urban League would come through the advisory group, and maybe PWI FAB could get like quarterly or annual updates or something. I don't know.
I would envision, much like historically the Water Advisory Group where staff has provided reports, I would envision the Urban League fulfilling that function.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, Commissioner Johnson?
So I understand the changes, they make sense to me. I think they're going to be a good fit for what we have been talking about. And I think the additional change of not the Office of Water and Sewer Customer Advocacy, but a Water and Sewer Customer Advocate. I do like that. And then, you were just mentioning, Commissioner Terry, about the meeting in person versus virtual, which they are meeting in person now. Was there language in here about a virtual option that needs to be altered?
No, Commissioner Patrick had asked about whether we could allow them to meet virtually, which I think we would if state law allowed it.
And I agree, like, some of these committee meetings really could be virtual, so I think that would be good for the legislative agenda.
One of the items I've had for a couple of years is a legislative request that BOCs and boards can be a little more flexible. Zoning in particular, I think, is a phenomenal one to have as a Zoom meeting.
Yes.
Any of the other board meetings that we have, I think, would be appropriate as well, but we got to get however many people up in the legislature to agree with us, so, and a governor. So, Commissioner Johnson, what would you like to do next?
So I am comfortable moving to approve with the friendly amendment about the Office of Water and Sewer Service, or Water Sewer Customer Advocate. Fixing that language as discussed. I'd be comfortable if you are.
Okay. I'm going to second for the purpose of discussion, and I'm going to ask either Matthew or Zach, the administration is comfortable with this language here? We could infer with the language that's been presented that generally speaking.
There's no real changes. It's
Yeah, No concerns.
No concerns? Okay. So, and just for clarity, that means we'll get a substitute on Tuesday that has the latest language with the removal of office and just advocate inserted in place?
Can do. I can have that
Yeah,
for
with the
Tuesday.
other red line.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I got the red line, but this last portion that
Yeah, the clean
was
one.
discussed.
I made notes. I will have a further red line.
Thank you, Matthew. A red line.
A red line.
So again, we have a proper motion, proper second. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Well, now we're at that point where we have to say goodbye.
Move we adjourn.
Second.